Okay, welcome back everybody to Coffee and Art in the Morning. I'm Dee Dee. And in the last segment, we did a Happy Mail segment, Happy Mail from Angie Bell and from Vicki S. Vicki S. sent me this Kirby. This is the second book of Kirby Roseanne's Imagimorphia. His first one was Anamorphia. So I just thought I'd color just a little bit in here. I'll probably zoom in and hopefully we can just kind of do a little bit of coloring for about an hour. It's about all the time I have left today is about an hour. And but let me really quickly show you. I'm just going to show you the pages that I've finished in this book and then kind of talk about my process when I do these larger pieces. Now when I do a larger, like this fish, for example, the background here is just craft paint, salt, just like straight out of the tube, right, or right out of the jar, or whatever you want to call it. The fins and the fish are a wash, a solid, like just a wash of orange and a wash of light blue. And then on top of that is color pencil shading. So you can kind of see if I get up there, you can see the wash of paint and then the shading's done with color pencil. The little bits and stuff, you could throw a little bit of wash on those, but really, you might as well just go ahead and color them in with markers or color pencil, whichever you prefer, or gel pens. So you could color the little bits in with just a marker. And when I say marker, what I'm talking about is just like these kids' Crayola markers. You cannot really use like Copics alcohol-based markers on these pages because it'll go through. These won't, as long as you're not scrubbing. Don't be, you can't just be like that because you're wetting the paper. And when the paper gets wet, things will soak through. But just for like one layer of wash, over each thing, it's fine. Again, I've talked about how the pages might warp a little bit, but by the time you've completely covered them, with all your coloring and shading and paint and everything, they flatten out almost 100%. I mean, I can feel a tiny bit of warping at the top. That doesn't bother me. But you always want to test whatever you're going to use, whether it's markers, gel pens, paint, any kind of watered down paint, watercolors, anything like that. Try to test it either in the back page or on your cover page, somewhere, so that you make sure that it's not going to go through. The other thing, and let me go ahead and grab a piece too on here, is you want to put a piece of cardstock behind your page. There's a couple reasons for that. Now see, there's just a wash over that lion. This is what it looks like when it's just the paint. And when I say a wash, you've got to water it down some. If you just use it straight out of the jar like I did here, it's going to be a solid color. But you can't use a solid color on your color booking, otherwise you're going to lose all that. Like if I just put yellow ochre straight out of the jar on this lion, it would you'd lose all those little lines. Okay? Well, it just does take a little bit of practice. So this is just the wash, right? That's one color initial wash. Then you go back in there and you start shading with your color pencil. Or you could use gel pen and markers for the little bits. Okay, because Kirby's got tons of little bits, trust me. So that's the process for these pages. But if you don't put something behind it, it's not even necessarily for the purpose of soaking through, although that can happen depending on what kind of markers you're using. If you're going to use Copics, just know that it's going to go through to the other side. Okay. The other purpose of putting a page behind here is when you're coloring, I don't bear down very much. I try to do a lot of layering and shading. But let's just say I was bearing down on those red little creatures there. Okay? If I bear down on that, it's not only going to make a dent here, but it's going to dent your next page. So having something behind your page helps prevent denting on the next page, right? Okay, so I'm just going to quickly show the pages that I've finished in this book. And again, it's a little flashed out. Let me try to keep it true color, but it's a little tough. Okay, there we go. So again, the owls, the background here is black paint. I put on my own stars with acrylic paint. The little white dots is just my own, added my own stars. And I recommend, you can do it in either way you want, but I kind of recommend doing the background first because then you can kind of paint and color over the edge. Otherwise, if you do this owl first, then you're going to have to be real careful with that black paint, right? Real careful. Whereas if you do the black paint first, the pencil will go over the paint. Pencil will go over paint. White pencil will go over black paint. It won't go over. That's why I like the watercolor, the acrylic washes or just even flat acrylic paint, is because your color pencils will go over that. Okay? All right, so, I reiterate the process every time I do this, but I want y'all to kind of know. Okay, so you see how it's kind of got a little bit of warping right there from this wash. And, maybe some from another page. No, it's from this one. Okay, so, but by the time you color in the background, let's say I take a dark blue or even turquoise or whatever color I want to do the water, by the time I paint that in, add color pencil and all that, you will not even barely see that warping. But again, these pages are pretty thin in this book. Some pages in some color books are thicker, and you won't even get that. So you do need to test to make sure. Whatever you're going to do. All right, so here's another one with just washes on it. Just washes. But because the paint's watered down, you can still see the color book lines through it, right? Okay, so here's my iguanas, or whatever kind of lizards they are. Again, solid black paint in the background, yellow paint here. I want it to look like there was like an opening in the jungle where you could see the sunlight. So I left an area with bright yellow, and then I just shaded with color pencil around the trees. So these have washes on them. I may have thrown a little bit of green on some of the tree bits here, but pretty much that's probably a marker in the center. I don't remember because I'll use a little bit of whatever. But this is all color pens, and it is a little flashed out, guys. There's more of the true, there you go. So you can see the truer color there. It's really dark and vibrant, right? But my camera kind of flashes it out here and there. Okay, so you can see here's the trees and all the little bits. Warping will remind you to finish the page. There you go. Okay, then let's see what else I've got in here. The snakes are not done yet, but I wanted to show you here. I painted the background a solid green, and I just put my own little patterns in there with some acrylic paint. So you're the boss of your color book. Just because there's nothing there doesn't mean you have to leave it at nothing. These are not done yet, right? They're not done. Again, just the wash on the Komodo dragon. And then we have colored this. There is a stream with this one. And just so you can see the difference between, here is the tentacles with just a wash. And then here's where it's got color pencil shading. But the wash will give your page a tooth for the color pencil to do this kind of shading on, and also allows you to put light colors on dark. This is black paint here. Let me get a white pencil. I want to show you here. I know I've shown this a gazillion times, but some pencils over here. Okay, let me get a black pencil here. I think this is black. Okay, so let's just say you have black paint here, and let's just say you have a black pencil here. All right, so you could color this all in, and sometimes if there's a tiny little bit right there, I'll go in there with the pencil and sharpen it up, because it's hard to paint into all those areas, and you don't have to. You could paint close to the edge and then go back in there with your pencil to get right up in those little crevices. Okay, but the bulk of it is done with the acrylic paint. But you can get in there with the little, with your black Prismacolor and get in there in those tight little areas. So don't have to worry about necessarily painting like in between those feathers, for example. Okay, you don't have to get in there and paintbrush in there. You can get in there with your pencil after you've painted everything, but I try to get as close as I can. But here's the benefit of doing something with color paint rather than just color pencil. If I colored this whole thing with color pencil, right, it'd be just as black, just as pretty, but I want to show you something you can do with the pencil, white pencil, that you can't go over. So here's black pencil. Look, I'm pushing as hard as I can, and all I'm doing is smearing the black. You see no white, right, on top of the black pencil. Now watch when I do the same thing with the black. This is just black acrylic paint. Now watch. I'm barely going to touch the page. Look, barely touch the page. And if I really want to color something, look, barely, look. See how I can get pure white back on top of paint. You can't do that on top of color pencil. So if I wanted to add, say, a glow, some mist, a fog around the tentacles, or stars, or whatever, right? You can do that with the white pencil. And here's what, if I'm barely pushing hard, look, see? You can't get that with just pencil. If I'd colored that with black color pencil, I could not do that. Okay? Your backgrounds look streaky. Well, I don't add any water. Now, and again, if you like, let's say you're using red, lime green, those are more translucent colors, you might need to put a second coat. You might need to put 2 coats. I like black backgrounds. It gives the image drama and makes it pop. I just like the way black backgrounds or dark blue or dark colors look. It makes your image stand out. Plus, one of my motifs is space. So I love to add, shooting stars. You can add a little shooting star. You can add planets. There's all kinds of things you can do that I like with a black background. But if your background and you're not putting any water, no water in your paint. I mean, I damp my brush so the brush isn't stiff. But no water in the paint, you can get this in 1 coat. Okay, if it's a translucent color like red, yellow, lime green, you might have to put 2 coats so that there's no streaks. Okay, all right, so let me go ahead and show you. I think I've got one more in here. Nope, that's it. Okay, so that's Imagimorphia, and that's some of the things that I've done in it. And so what I want to do, though, is a little bit. Now, I'm going to not do a flip on this Imagimorphia. This is Kirby Roseanne's new book, and Vicki S. sent it to me. She got them in London, and she sent me one. They'll be out in the stores. I know you can order it online. They should be out in your Barnes and Noble and all that soon. Maybe yours has it. Mine doesn't yet. And I heard also somebody say he also has a sketchbook. And I'll be looking for that too when it comes out in stores. So what I'm going to do is spend about an hour just working on a little bit of something in the book. If you want to see a total flip through this, I just did a Happy Mail where Vicki sent me this, and I showed page by page. So if you want to see a more in-depth flip in this book, then just look at the previous video to this one on YouTube called Happy Mail Wednesday, and you'll see this book in there, okay? But what I wanted to do, the one I had picked, there's tons, I love everything in it, trust me. But there was a spider web that I wanted to kind of do this. I wanted to do a bit of this spider web because how I envisioned this is a black background with silver spider web. That's just what I'm seeing. And plus, all the other little creatures that are caught in the web. So I'm just going to go ahead and do a little bit of black. I'll probably start in the middle here and work my way out a little bit far enough because I'm only going to be able to be here an hour. I'll go ahead and zoom in as much as I can, and then I'm going to do a little bit of black and silver, and that's probably all you'll see me do today, because I just don't have a lot of time today. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and put I'm going to put a thing behind it. The other reason you might want to put a page, a protective page behind your color book page is if you cut like this, for instance, I'm going to paint black off the edge. So rather than trying not to get off the edge, right, You know, I can just kind of paint my paintbrush off the edge all the way to the edge and off the edge if I have something protecting the page behind it. So it's just a good idea to always have a protective piece of cardstock. Love the little critter walking the tightrope. Yeah, yeah, the little, he calls those little aliens. I know, right? So I'm going to go ahead and just get me out some black paint and just start. And we'll see how far we get, maybe in about 30 minutes, and then I'll go back in and color a few of the items. I'm not going to be able to finish, especially 2 pages, let alone probably 1. And stickles would be good on the web too. Good, Char. Yeah, I have used stickles in my color book pages, especially in the Jasmine Beckett Griffith books. I like to add some glitter to some of those girls. Not overdo it, but like the mermaid, I added stickles to her, you know, tail fins and all that. But yeah, it would probably be cool to add silver glitter to the spider web. Now let me preface this by saying, and I got one here. This is not a silver. This is clear. If you use stickles on your color book page, I would recommend, you know, doing that the very last thing that for that day. Stickles will take a few hours to dry, and it doesn't really dry with the heat gun. It's one of the few things that just really does not dry well with the heat gun. You really want to do the stickles, whatever, on top of whatever, and let it sit overnight before you continue on, or, you know, before you close the book, right? Now, I might do a little stickles here on something just to show you how it looks. I'll pull out some silver. And then I'll just set the book aside till, you know, tomorrow or whatever. Because you don't want to be running your hand over it or something, you know, and you don't want to have to be so careful with your painting or coloring not to touch the glitter glue, right? Or the stickles, rather. So, yeah. So, just FYI. All right, so let me go ahead and spend a second, guys, zooming in as best I can and refocusing my camera. Hang on, let me get something here to focus on. Nice and focused. Let me brighten it back up a little here. Hang on, guys. I'm going to exaggerate it and then refocus it. We'll test this out here. Okay, that looks pretty good. I think that's pretty good. Okay, stickles are the garnish, that's right. All right, so let me move this out of the way, get a little, and I just use little coffee lid for my palettes. Let me get my black acrylic paint. I'm just going to squeeze out some. You want a small, tiny brush for this. This is tiny business here, tiny business. So I'm going to get a small brush, or at least a pointy brush. That might be a little too flared. Let me see here on a small. Doesn't have to be too small as long as it's pointy. Ah, here we go. I think this one might work. Nope, that's too small. This one might work. Okay. Small brush. Okay. I just get it damp, but you don't want any water. All right, so hopefully y'all can see. Does this look focused and everything, guys? I'm hoping. And I'm just going to work my way around the spider. I'll probably make the spider red because I think that would be cool. I know most spiders are like, they might, like a black widow, have a red back, but their legs would not be red. But I think I'm going to go ahead and do the whole spider red. And I just might use a marker for that. Just a red Kids Crayola marker. Let's go ahead and do that. Let's see here. What am I using? All right, let me just find my red. Let's see. And also another thing about having a test page behind here, you can test your colors. Okay, so you can test your colors to see if it's what you want. It is focused? Okay. So I'm just going to color this whole spider solid red. And again, I'm not going to be scrubbing or it'll go through. Okay, I'm just going to color the spider, and then I'll go back and shade its body or something a little bit more with color pencil. Okay, so just so you can, I'm going to do this so you can see it. So we have something there in the middle. Again, I don't have to really worry about going out of the lines. I'm going to cover it up anyway. But, you just got to see what you get comfortable with. Do you feel more comfortable doing the background first, the element first, or a little of both? Okay. So I'm just going to color his little legs. Don't get creeped out if you don't like looking at spiders, whatever. Okay. All right, so now what I'm going to do is just take my tiny little brush and I'm going to start, see if this one looks like it's going to flare out. I have one little hair there. Let's see if I can cut that off. I got one little hair sticking out that's going to mess me up. See if I can cut that hair off. I don't have any, the brushes that I use with my craft paint and in my color books or anytime I use acrylic paint, they're not expensive brushes. I have nice expensive brushes for oil painting, but I have them put away because I really don't oil paint anymore. So, but also the other thing is when you have tiny brush, you got to keep dipping the brush a lot, right? Because that's not holding a lot of paint. And again, if you don't feel comfortable getting really close up on tiny areas, then you can go back with your color pencil to sharpen those little areas. This is a pretty tiny brush, and I'll probably be able to get into most areas. But if, like for instance, if I accidentally go over the little spider web, it's okay. We're going to go over it with a silver gel pen and stickles, right? So we don't, you're the boss of your color book. Don't get, don't get all worked up. It's okay. And again, I know that some people go, why don't you do speed paints or speed up the videos? Well, a couple reasons. One, I don't edit anything. This is a live show with a live chat and live everything, right? There's still a hair on there. I might have to try to cut that again. I don't edit anything, so what you see on the show here is what you get. There's no editing, right? So that's one, because it takes too long, for one thing, to try to edit a 3-hour video. And so it's either stream or edit. I don't have time for both. That's one thing. And the other thing, too, is that I've had a couple people comment on it, is that they like the long videos without anything speeded up because they can see how long something actually takes. If I did this color book page, and there's nothing wrong with speeded up videos, don't email me, they're fine, they're great. I'm just saying, for me, you can see how long something actually takes. You can watch a 10-minute speeded up video and have this whole color book page done. But it's going to take you a lot longer than 10 minutes. Yeah, so that's why I don't do fast forwarding. For those multiple reasons, right? So, I hope I don't think my hand's in the way. I can pull my hand back from the brush a little bit. I can paint from way back here. So it's okay. All right, so I'm going to go all the way around the spider a couple of times. So it's going to be a little monotonous. Yeah. So the process is a little, sometimes it can be tedious, but, I think people enjoy, I love long videos personally, because I like to watch them when I'm working. Now, there's a tiny little bit right there that could be black. But I know this for a fact. Stickles are thicker than the gel pen's going to be. So I know if I'm going to put stickles on there, it's going to be thicker than these lines anyway. So I'm really not going to, go get crazy with that. I'm going to go over all the spider web with silver gel pen, and I'll show you what I'll use. You can buy a set of these at Hobby Lobby, probably Michael's too. They come in a set of two, a gold and a silver. The Pentel, they're called medium metallic gel. They're Pentel, and they come in a pack of two, and they're only like $5. And you can use a coupon, so you can get these 2 pens for a couple of bucks, right, in a package. So they're Pentel metallic gold and silver come in a pack. Well, that's what I'm going to use, the silver on the spider web. And then you can see the stickles. The stickles, see, that's a lot thicker than even a gel pen, right? So it's going to, as careful as I might line it, it's not going to be as thin as this spider web. Hey, Patootie. Anybody else coming in? Thanks for being here. And another thing, when you do a lot of small, tedious things like this with a tiny, especially if you're using a tiny paintbrush, every now and then, especially because I'm under all these hot lights, but you'll want to rinse your brush out because the paint is going to start hardening up and crusting on your paintbrush. So you want to just kind of clean your paintbrush off, and then I just roll it off on a paper towel. Because otherwise your paintbrush is going to crust over. Okay. And this one, I might have to find another one anyway, because I do see a little hair that's going to be irritating me, sticking out on this one. I just grabbed one out of the jar. If you have any questions, just put them in caps and ask. I don't mind answering questions. And sometimes the same questions get answered over and over, and that's because new people come into the chat and ask me the same question. They weren't here, so, I take the time to answer every question that I see. That's why I ask you to put it in caps. It's going to look cool, you think, Terry? Yeah, I hope so. But you can also see that why I have probably close to 60 color books. I colored a lot in Imagimorphia when I first got it, and the same thing for Doodlers Anonymous. I colored in those two books almost exclusively for the longest time, and now I got so many color books I love. It's a little tricky to get lots of pages done in one book. And you could do this with color pencil, but again, if you do it with color pencil, there's you can't add white on top of it. I don't know that I want to, add white anywhere. I'm going to use the silver pen on the web, but so to me, it seems like a little more time to do this rather than with a pencil. And again, if you don't feel comfortable getting like right up in a point with the paintbrush, then you get in those little points with a sharp black pencil, right? I'm going to do around the circle, and then I'm going to probably go along the edge here just to show you what it looks like painted around the edge. So we'll have time for that because I have about maybe 30-40 minutes time left. I have till about 45 minutes, about till 12. Okay. I gotta go. Hubster's coming home early today, and we have things to do. So, trying to keep my hand out. I hope it's still focused, guys. Any questions? The color book, Miss Allie, is the Imagimorphia. I'm so zoomed in, though, I can't even show you the full cover. But I showed it a bunch of times. And if you go back and look at my Happy Mail video, the one I just made this morning before this one, I showed, I did a flip through. So if you want to see all the pages, you can see the flip through on the video before this one. When I upload, it's not uploaded yet, obviously. Back up here so you can. And you don't have to hurry. When you're coloring, just take your time. Don't rush. I might glitter the spider too. That might look kind of cool. Now when I photograph it, it won't photograph, just like when I did the Pugula, Count Pugula, when I put the red stickles in his eyes and the fangs. It doesn't photograph. Glitter and gold and silver don't photograph either very well. The shine doesn't pick up on a still. So, but you'll be able to see it here because I'm going to go ahead and do that. At least that far today. It just depends on what you're comfortable with. And you don't have to do everything black background. I like a lot of black background again because I like the contrast. I like the drama of the way it looks black. And, you know, I do a lot of outer space things and that just works well. Because with black paint, I can go over that with color pencil. So I can add a whole nebula in color pencil if I want. So again, if y'all got any comments or questions or anything, so I can keep talking. Because I really don't have anything else to talk about on this. If y'all don't have any questions, I kind of said it all about what we're doing here. Coloring the chameleon blendable pens. Oh, with the blend, yeah, the watercolor ones. Now I don't have those. Eileen's got them. I think Paula's got them. Everybody seems to really like them. If you're talking about the same ones, I can't remember the name of it. I got it written down. The actual watercolor. These are not water. These are just water based, but they're not blendable watercolors like I think the ones that Heather is talking about. There's a name for those, and they're expensive. Bye, Colleen. They're expensive. I think there's about $30 for a set of those watercolor markers. Is Eileen here? There she is. The spider's eating a flamingo. Yeah, Eileen. What are the name of those those watercolor markers, guys? Eileen will tell me, or Heather, whichever one. I don't even know if Heather's talking about the same ones, but I'm thinking of the ones that Eileen has. One of these days I'll probably get those. I wouldn't have had time to use them much anyway at this point because of everything else I got going on, but Clear Color Markers by Zig. So, and I know you can get them on Amazon, but again, they're not cheap. But Clear Color Markers, they're watercolor markers. Eileen, have you tried this, or do you know, have you compared them to like the Winsor & Newton watercolor ones? Have you compared those? Okay, they're Kuretake. Kuretake clear color brushed markers. Okay, so Heather, yeah. See, these are the ones that I have, these Crayola ones are just water-based. They're not watercolors. Like, they're not going to blend like a watercolor. Like the Kuretake, they're actual watercolor in a marker. Pick random colors for the things caught in the web. No, yeah, no, they'll be all random colors, silver screen. The little items in the web, yeah, they'll be all different colors, yeah. But again, now I'm not going to try to color every bit of those with paint. The main reason I like paint is because of the ability to go over it with color pencil, right? But like him, I just colored him with a red marker because I'm going to put stickles all over him. Same thing for these little things. Like, you don't need to put paint over them to blend a little bit of marker, right? Just a tiny bit. You know, they're so tiny. They're the only watercolor markers that you really like. Okay, so Eileen is swearing by the Kuretake ones, and I guess Janet, you must have them too, because Janet knew the name right off, so she must have them too. Let me try to stay back here so you can see. Okay. It's almost time for me to clean my brush out again. Again, because the brush is so tiny, the paint will dry pretty quick, and you got to kind of clean it out so that it doesn't get crusted up. You know, so I'm using a pretty tiny brush. There are new chameleon marker pens. Oh, okay, so I've heard of those now. Yeah, Heather's talking about the chameleon markers. I've seen them online. Supposedly they change color. That would probably drive me crazy. That's just me. When I put on a color, I want to know it's the color is. And Eileen said the Prismas work great over the Kuretake markers. Okay. That's good to know, because I'd have to have something that would work with my Prismacolor. But I would like to know how they compare to the Winsor Newton watercolor markers. Because the Winsor and Newton watercolor markers, they have a lot of colors too. Okay, but does it change colors, Heather? The chameleon ones? I heard that it changes colors. See, I wouldn't want anything that changes colors. I'm going to have to trim this brush. I see that one hair is bugging me. I see one hair sticking out on that brush. I need to trim it off. Yeah, but you know what, Dawn? Let me see here. You can get by, start with, you don't have to have those expensive things. Like I said earlier, these Crayola water-based markers, you can get 50 of them. They're normally $9.99, and you can get 50 of them with a coupon, $5, right? So you don't have to start with the most expensive things. They just change value, not color. Okay, thanks, Matt. Oh, I gotta pull back here. It's still in focus. I'm just gonna go around this one more, right around there, and then I'm gonna do the outer edge, and then I want to do some stickles. And that's all I'm gonna have time for today. If you have any other questions or anything, I'll try to answer them. I don't know every supply, just like I was talking about these watercolor markers, the Kuretake ones. I don't have them, never tried them, never used them. But the girls here have and swear by them, so. You mix a blender pen with pen color. It gets lighter and darker. Okay, gotcha. Just changes the value, not the color. Would be like a watercolor wash. I mean, like watering down watercolors. And they're talking about the chameleon pens, not the Kuretake. The Kuretake are just pure watercolor in a marker. Yeah, I love the Crayola one. I mean, I'm talking about just for a color book, I mean, it's not trying to be a Picasso here. But at the same time, I love color books because they are great practice for your colors, your shading, your blending, and all kinds of things. So they're great practice, but you can't, you don't want to get so wrapped, don't get your panties in a wad, as they say, and make it so that it's no fun anymore. Okay, so I think I've gone all the way around at least once. I've gone completely around the spider. Okay, let me do, if I do that one, I want to do that one. Let me do a couple more here. And then I'll do the edges. And then I'll make sure this is dry. I'll hit it with the heat gun to make sure it's dry before I go in here with the silver gel pen and stickles. But you could use, like on the little bits like this, you can use your gel pens, your markers. You know, it doesn't have to be even just pencil. You could just, you know, if you got one little thing like that little fluff ball guy there, and you just want to just color them in like yellow, color them in with the yellow marker, and then maybe, you know, color pencil just a little tiny bit of shading, if any, you know. You don't have to, everything doesn't have to be full on, you know, blendy. Nothing wrong with that. Just, it all depends on how much time you can take for each, you know, for each color book page, right? Okay, so I'm going to stop there. Let me clean out my brush and get a bigger brush. All right, so I'm just going to get a bigger brush here. Let's see. Okay. So now I'm going to get a bigger brush, and I'm still going to stay zoomed in, and I'll just move the book around, right? Okay. So I'm going to, there's the edge of the book, but I've got a paper in there. I should probably put another color in there so maybe you can, well, this will work. You can see. All right, so I've got a paper behind the page, right? All right. So now I'm just going to get the black, just so you can see me doing around the edges a little bit. Do gel pens write over Crayola markers? Yeah, they'll go, they should. I don't think I've had a problem with them, not that I can think of. I don't think I've had a problem with them going over the markers. Not that it comes, not that I can think of. But I'm not really going, yeah, we'll do one. We'll do one to kind of see. I don't, no, it doesn't. It doesn't, it's not a problem because I've done it before. All right, now, here's the thing. I've got a bigger brush, so you can see this big brush is not going to fit in that little tiny area. So I'm just going to go right up to the edge of this, you know, kind of close to that spider web, not right necessarily to the edge. I could, if I took a little bit slower stroke, I could get right up to it. But rather than try to do that, I'm just going to go ahead and not go right up to the edge, and then I'll go back in there with my smaller brush or color pencil, black color pencil, either one, right? Now, I am coming over to the next page because I know that this is a 2-page spread. I'm not going to get to it today, but you can see I'm just going to go ahead and go across the page there, across the seam. And you want to make sure this is all dry before you close your book. Don't close your book on paint in the crevice there, because then you'll tear it, right? All right, so I'm going to just go ahead and just kind of show you how I go not all the way to the edge of an item. Like there's the spider web. Okay, I'm just going to kind of fill in pretty close up to it. But then if I want to get in there, I'll take the little brush. What do I do with it? I'll take the little brush and get in those little areas, see? But I don't want to do all this painting with this tiny brush. So I'm just going to kind of go around the elements. And I'll do the same thing on this inside area, all of it, right? I'll go in here with the little brush to get right up on the line. But if you don't feel comfortable doing it with the paintbrush, do that with your pencil. Okay? Do that with a pencil. All right, so I'm not going to do all this one right now because I really want to just concentrate on going around the edge. All right, so again, you can see I got a piece of paper behind here, right? All right. So I'm just going to take my paint and go pretty close, and don't rush. Like, I got to wet my paint just a little because it's drying out. You don't have to go right up to the line. You can do that with the small. Like for instance, let's just say I'm going to go around him. Okay. And then go back with the smaller brush. Again, I've got a piece of paper right behind there. I missed a spot right there. I'm just going to keep moving along. See? And it's real easy to do if you have a paper behind you. Behind the page, because you can go right off the page, see? You don't have to worry about it, you know, crusting up the second page behind it or gluing those pages together. See? Now, I will say this. Be aware that that's probably wet when you're doing this, so don't take this and slam it down behind, because then you're going to get black paint on the back side. You want to just make sure that you kind of turn your cardstock so you're not pushing that wet paint from your cardstock to the back. There's just little tips. Again, I've got to wet my brush a little because my paint is crusty. No, it's drying out from the lights. So you can see I'm not getting right up on any of the elements, but I'm going to paint around the whole edge real quick. See? Trying to stay in camera here. Be careful, because I've done it before. I've taken the cardstock with the wet paint and put it behind and got the page behind it. I always can paint over everything, though. I don't really ever, you know, it's like, oh no! You know, you can paint over pretty much anything. So there we go. See how it gets right up off the edge, nice and sharp? All right, so I'm not going to go ahead and do all this, but you get the idea, right? You get the idea how to paint the edges, right? And then I'll just take the smaller brush and go in around all this with the black paint, right? All those little spots, everything. All the background here is going to be painted black, just like I did this. But what we're going to do right now, let me make sure my brushes are all clean. No black paint sitting in them. Because acrylic paint will, once your acrylic paint is hardened in the brushes, you know, it's almost impossible to get them back. I just use cheap ones anyway, but still. All right, now I'm going to hit this with a heat gun just to make double sure that it's dry, including the cardstock where I'm going to stick back under there, so I'm not sticking wet paint under it. It's going faster than you thought. You want to make sure it's dry before you start adding pencil, marker, pen, anything. Especially in the crevices there. Okay. And I'm so zoomed in, guys, that's why you can't really see everything there. But I did dry this piece of cardstock that I was working on too, so I don't mess up the page behind it with paint. Okay, so the last thing I'm going to do today is I'm going to take my gel pen. Oh, I do need to find my silver and red stick. So I keep my stickles in all these little, I used to have a vacuum cleaner that had the filter in this exact size, and 2 rows of stickles will fit in these, so I have 3 of these. So I'm just going to see which, let's see, that might be too magenta, and I think this red is almost gone. Let me test it out here and see if there's anything left. I think this is almost empty. Yeah, I think I have another one. I do have this one's a little bit more magenta though. See the difference there? One's red and one's a little magenta, but I'll use the magenta. Oh, I can use clear because the clear will be clear and you'll still see the red. But I really wanted the red. I'm trying to remember what I used. I know I have another red because I used it on the pugnacious or pug. Hang on, let me dig around a minute. Ah, here we go. I still got to find silver too. Is that red? Yeah. Nope, that one's almost empty too. Hang on, guys. Let me dig around the stickles bins. Oh, here's silver. Let's see if I got any. That one has some in it. There's silver. Silver. Let me see if I got another red. I might need to buy a red. Here we go. Let's see. Ah, there we go. So it's all right. And most of these are Stickles brand. Some of them might be, you know, the off brand, but it's the same. Good, close enough anyway for what we're doing here. All right, so what I'm going to do now, I'm going to take my silver pen. Let me make sure to get it going on the thing. And all I'm going to do is go over the white lines just to kind of make them nice and crisp, because the stickles are going to be thicker than this line. But can you see? Look how, see how it's kind of jaggedy from my black paint? But look, once I go over it with the silver pen, even if you don't add stickles, just the silver pen, look at the difference that makes. Can you see it on camera? Here, you'll see it more right here. Okay, so I'm just going over a couple of times with the silver pen and sharpening it all up. See how neat that makes it? So that's why I like to do the backgrounds first. Because if I did the silver gel pen first, then your lines are going to look like that. See how it's jaggedy looking? But if you do the background first, then the gel pen will go over the black acrylic paint and sharpen up those lines. Okay? See? So I'm just kind of coloring it in. I'm making them just a tiny bit wider than the actual color book space, because I know my stickles, the point of my stickles is, it's little. It's little, but it's not that little. See what I mean? So it's going to be, I'm going to have to be real gentle not to like get it too globby or thick. All right, so let me just keep going here. So that's why it's best to do the background first, because then you can do these little details on top and fix things. Just wondering if the stickles will cover them. It's going to depend on the color. Like clear is not going to cover black. It would be, you know, clear. It depends on the stickles, I'd imagine. And I haven't tested every stickles on every color of acrylic paint, so I don't know. I mean, it'd show up on the black, but will it cover it like this? Probably not. Because it is kind of clear. You know, it's translucent, right? It's glittery. So it's not going to be solid. So I just want a silver web. So I'm just going to go everywhere. And I am kind of pushing down a little hard, so that's another reason you want your thing behind. You don't want to be digging into the next page. It can dent the page. It'll dent the back side of this page a little bit, but I don't want it to be making marks on the next 2 pages. And again, if you're afraid to color in your color book, you know, and I'm just saying this just for yourself. I'm not saying go out and copy them and, you know, sell them and whatnot. But, you know, if you want to practice, if you're afraid to work on a color book page that's really precious to you in a book that you don't want to mess up, then make a copy, even if it's just a little area of it, to practice on. So practice, you know, make a copy to practice on. And again, all right, let's just say I got, let me find an area. Maybe I got this one too thick, okay? I can take my black color pencil, which let me find, or my black marker. But again, if you're using a black marker, make sure it's one that's not going through. Don't use your Copics, your Sharpies. Those are going to go through. Let me just find my black pencil here. I know I had it. Here it is. So let me sharpen it up real sharp. Okay, so like, let me find one where, all right, let's just say right here, I got this one a little too thick. I can go back over the gel pen with the black pencil and sharpen that too. So there's really no mistake, you know. Although I don't really need to thin these out because, like I said, I'm going to put stickles on them and it's going to be thicker anyway. Okay. What time is it? Okay, I got about 10 minutes, guys. I feel a sneeze coming on again. Hang on. This looks like a little, some kind of a little bug with a little nose. It's got some kind of, that's part of a bug thing there. It's not part of the web. Thank you, Vicki. So some of that right there is part of that bug, not part of the web. That all right there is part of the bug. I'm going to turn it because I got to get my hand going this way. Oops. I got to cover it up. I guess it doesn't really matter which way this goes, does it? It's not like there's a right side and a wrong side for a spider web. I just want to stay in the camera. So anyway, guys, I really appreciate this Vicki for sending me this color book. And thank you, Angie Bell, for sending us those prints and sharing some other color books with everybody. Can't believe how this pen is working so well. Well, yeah, it's really, but it's not really on the, I mean, it is on the paint, but it's not on the paint. You know what I mean, Vicki? I mean, I'm not like coloring solid on the paint. It's pretty much on the white part. It is going over the paint a little bit, but I don't know how long it would last if I was just coloring. But gel pens are pretty versatile, you know, at least most of them. And these Pentel ones are good, right? I'm just looking to where I might have not got. I mean, I can't say that you wouldn't wear them out pretty quick if I was just going over solid black paint. Okay, so right in here I need to sharpen up. So I'm just taking my pencil and going in there, making sure those spider legs are nice and sharp. Although again, I don't know that it's going to matter because I'm going to put red stickles on the spider. But trying to do it neatly as I can. Thanks, Vicki. Thanks for helping. Thanks for modding. You, Carrie, Sherry, Janet, everybody that helps me here. Appreciate it. Okay, let me get right in there with the pencil again. 2 or 3 more here. Okay, Sammy, night. Good night. I know a lot of girls are from different parts of the world. I appreciate it. Okay, one more here. I think that's part of, yeah, like I said, it's a web. Some of them are bug antennas and stuff like that. They're not part of the web. Not that you'd really notice if you colored something wrong, but you know. Okay, did I get them all? All right, so now let me go ahead and take my black pencil in a couple little areas right here where I just want to sharpen it up. You can probably see some areas where I got some of them a little thicker, but that's okay. I'm the boss of my color book. All right, so now let me go ahead and let's do the red stickles first on the spider, right? Here we go. Oh, you're welcome. Hey, Arden. Nice to have you. All right, let's test this out. All right, so I'm just going to lay. All right, sometimes if you don't have a pokey tool or a needle, if you take it, now I'm not going to do it right here, but take your stickles if it's kind of clogged in there and tap it real hard on the bottom like that, and it will clear the nozzle. Oh, well, it'll clear the nozzle a lot of times. Then when you shake it back down, it's cleared out. Okay, so I'm just going to put a little bit, and I'm going to kind of thin it out so it's not real. I want some of that black body to still show. So I'm just going to go around the edge right there. Go along. I'm just barely squeezing it, so I keep it as thin as possible. And I'll hold it up here in just a minute. I'm going to turn it so my arm is not resting in the stickles. Okay. Hey, Lisa. All right, so there we go. Let's see if you can see that. Is it showing up? Trying to get it to capture the light. Because I'm so zoomed in, guys. I can probably show you better when I zoom out. So let me go ahead and do the silver real quick, then we'll zoom out. Okay, let me tap and clean off the... All right, so now I'm going to go in here carefully. It's a little, like I said, it's thicker than the spider web. I'm going to try to just barely squeeze, barely. Let me get it going here. I might have to tap again. There we go. Uh-oh, now here's a problem. Let me get a pencil. I'm picking up the red spider leg with the silver. I can't touch the silver on the red. Okay, so I think I'll just go around the edge, guys, because I can't do the silver web where the red glitter is because I'm going to touch the glitter. I'm touching the red and the silver. I can't do, you know, they're going to get all jumbled up. So let me just do the outer edge. Okay, I think I need a needle tool to get. I can't touch the spider. Where's my needle tool? It's right there in the tip, I think. I just got a little bit of... I can't go close up to the spider. All right, hang on. This one is wanting to cause me some problems. Might have to get a needle out or a pen. I think this one's got a... I don't want to squeeze it too hard because I'm going to splotch it. You know what I mean, Vern? Let me see if I have a needle. Hang on. You're going to experiment. Whoops, sorry guys, I bumped the camera. Yeah, I had to get a needle. I don't want to lose that. Okay, here we go. There we go. Alright, so I'm going to go around the edge of the spider web, but not right up against the spider, because I'm pulling in the red when I touch it. Okay, this has got clogged again. Must be one little bit of something, something. There we go. I'm going to go around the edge without touching the spider. So I want you to see how cool it looks. All right, let me get my needle tool. Needle again. Yeah, this one's really wanting to clog. Don't know why. They usually aren't too finicky. All right, there we go. All right, I'm not going to do any more because I'm touching the spider legs. Okay, I don't want to touch them. So let me zoom out, and then I'll just hold it up. Hang on, guys. You'll see how zoomed in I am. See how zoomed in I was? All righty. Let's line that back up a little. Okay. All right, so let me move this out of the way. So you can see, maybe, how we colored around the edge. Again, see, I'll take my little brush and go close to the webs all along there. But let's see if I can get, let me turn this light closer this way. See if I can capture some glitter for you. Can you see it? Can you see the glitter? Oh, there we go. There we go. Glitter. See on the web and the spider. Isn't that cool? So yeah. And that would be cool to do the whole thing like that, right? To do all the web like that. It will be awesome. But you see how long that took? That took about an hour right there. It took about an hour to paint that in, and I was a little hurried. You know, it might take longer if you were taking your time. But it's going to be really a cool effect. Yeah. Pop the tip and remove the glitter booger. Yeah. Well, it's, yeah, I'm not sure where it is. Could be inside the, I think it's just getting one little bit right there. So, anyway, I hope y'all enjoyed that. Got any questions? Yeah, he's all glamored up. So get some ideas. So thanks again, Vicki. And I don't want to close the book because there's glitter there. But let me just turn it over so you can see this is the book we're working in, Imagimorphia. It's Kirby Roseanne's or Rozan's second book. Anamorphia being the first one. And if you want, again, if you want to see inside this book, look at the video Happy Mail Wednesday, the one right before this one, to see the inside of this book. Okay, guys, and thanks, guys. Thanks, Eileen, Sherry, Carrie, and Vicki for modding. I appreciate it. Oh, good. I hope y'all got some information and some inspiration. All right, guys. We'll talk to you later. Bye. Whereas if you do the black paint first, the pencil will go over the paint. Pencil will go over paint. White pencil will go over black paint. It won't go over, that's why I like the watercolor, the acrylic washes or just even flat acrylic paint, is because your color pencils will go over that. Okay? All right, so, and I reiterate the process every time I do this, but I want y'all to kind of know. Okay, so you see how it's kind of got a little bit of warping right there from this wash. And, you know, maybe some from another page. No, it's from this one. Okay, so, but by the time you color in the background, let's say I take a dark blue or even turquoise or whatever color I want to do the water, by the time I paint that in, add color pencil and all that, you will not even barely see that warping. But again, these pages are pretty thin in this book. Some pages in some color books are thicker, and you won't even get that. So you do need to test to make sure. Whatever you're going to do. All right, so here's another one with just washes on it. Just washes. But because the paint's watered down, you can still see the color book lines through it. It's done with color pencil. The little bits and stuff, you could throw a little bit of wash on those, but really, you might as well just go ahead and color them in with markers or color pencil, whichever you prefer, or gel pens. So you could color the little bits in with just a marker. And when I say marker, what I'm talking about is just like these kids' Crayola markers. You cannot really use like Copics alcohol-based markers on these pages because it'll go through. These won't, as long as you're not scrubbing. Don't be, you can't just be like that because you're wetting the paper. And when the paper gets wet, things will soak through. But just for like one layer of wash, over each thing, it's fine. Again, I've talked about how the pages might warp a little bit, but by the time you've completely covered them with all your coloring and shading and paint and everything, they flatten out almost 100%. I mean, I can feel a tiny bit of warping at the top. That doesn't bother me. But you always want to test whatever you're going to use, whether it's markers, gel pens, paint, any kind of watered down paint, watercolors, anything like that. Try to test it either in the back page or on your cover page, somewhere, so that you make sure that it's not going to go through. The other thing, and let me go ahead and grab a piece too on here, is you want to put a piece of cardstock behind your page. There's a couple reasons for that. Now see, there's just a wash over that lion. This is what it looks like when it's just the paint. And when I say a wash, you've got to water it down some. If you just use it straight out of the jar like I did here, it's going to be a solid color. But you can't use a solid color on your color booking, otherwise you're going to lose all that. Like if I just put yellow ochre straight out of the jar on this lion, it would you'd lose all those little lines. Okay? Well, it just does take a little bit of practice. So this is just the wash, right? That's one color initial wash. Then you go back in there and you start shading with your color pencil. Or you could use gel pen and markers for the little bits. Okay, because Kirby's got tons of little bits, trust me. So that's the process for these pages. But if you don't put something behind it, it's not even necessarily for the purpose of soaking through, although that can happen depending on what kind of markers you're using. Okay, welcome back everybody to Coffee and Art in the Morning. I'm Dee Dee, and in the last segment, we did a Happy Mail segment, Happy Mail from Angie Bell and from Vicki S. Vicki S. sent me this Kirby. This is the second book of Kirby Roseanne's Imagimorphia. His first one was Animorphia. So I just thought I'd color just a little bit in here. I'll probably zoom in and hopefully we can just kind of do a little bit of coloring for about an hour. It's about all the time I have left today is about an hour. And but let me really quickly show you. I'm just going to show you the pages that I've finished in this book, and then kind of talk about my process when I do these larger pieces. Now, when I do a larger, like this fish, for example, the background here is just craft paint, just like straight out of the tube, right, or right out of the jar, or whatever you want to call it. The fins and the fish are a wash. A solid, like just a wash of orange and a wash of light blue. And then on top of that is color pencil shading. So you can kind of see if I get up there. You can see the wash of paint and then the shading using. If you're going to use Copics, just know that it's going to go through to the other side. Okay? The other purpose of putting a page behind here is when you're coloring, I don't bear down very much. I try to do a lot of layering and shading. But let's just say I was bearing down on those red little creatures there. Okay? If I bear down on that, it's not only going to make a dent here, but it's going to dent your next page. So having something behind your page helps prevent denting on the next page, right? Okay, so I'm just going to quickly show the pages that I've finished in this book. And again, it's a little flashed out. Let me I'll try to keep it true color, but it's a little tough. Okay, there we go. So again, the owls, the background here is black paint. I put on my own stars with acrylic paint. The little white dots is just my own, added my own stars. And I recommend, you don't have, you can do it in either way you want, but I kind of recommend doing the background first because then you can kind of paint and color over the edge. Otherwise, if you do this owl first, then you're going to have to be real careful with that black paint, right? Real careful.